I am Lisa.
And I'm Eric. Do you want to improve your English easily? If so, you're in the right place.
So let's get started and make English easy. So Eric, what are the words today?
The first word today is miserable. Then we will continue with feature and consistent. Then get along with. And the final one is go down the drain.
Let's start with the first word, Eric.
Today's first word is miserable.
Miserable.
Miserable is an adjective. It means extremely unhappy, uncomfortable, or in a very unpleasant situation.
That's right. When someone is miserable, they feel very sad or are having a really bad time.
Let me give an example sentence. The rain made our camping trip miserable. It means that the rain caused their camping trip to be very unpleasant and not enjoyable. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example?
Sure. Here's another example. John felt miserable after failing his driving test. It means that John was very unhappy and upset because he didn't pass his driving test.
Good example, Lisa. Now let's hear a short dialogue using the word miserable.
Hi, Tom. You look miserable today. What's wrong?
I feel miserable, Sarah. I have a terrible cold.
Oh, no. Have you taken any medicine?
Yes, but I still feel awful. This weather makes it even more miserable.
That was a good example, Lisa. It shows how people use miserable in everyday situations.
Yes, and it also shows that miserable can describe both how someone feels and the situation they're in. Eric, do you have any personal experiences when you felt miserable?
Oh, definitely. Once I remember feeling miserable when I had to stay inside all week because I was sick. It was hard, not being able to go out and do things I enjoyed.
That sounds awful. So, Eric, do you think miserable is a formal or informal word?
I'd say it's more informal, but we can use it in many situations. And it's quite common, especially when people want to express strong negative feelings or describe very unpleasant situations.
That's right. It really emphasizes how bad someone feels or how unpleasant a situation is.
Absolutely. So, listeners, remember, miserable is used when you feel really unhappy or uncomfortable. It's more than just a little sad. It means you're having a really difficult time.
Exactly. Well, I think we've covered miserable pretty well. Shall we move on to our next word?
Yes, let's do that. Remember, listeners, even if you make mistakes, don't feel miserable. Making mistakes is a part of learning a language.
Well said, Eric. Okay, what is the next word?
All right, Lisa. The next word we have is feature.
Feature.
Feature is a noun, and it means an important part or characteristic of something. It can also be a verb, meaning to include something important.
Exactly, Eric. When we say something has a feature, we're talking about a specific part that stands out or makes it special. It could be something about a product, a movie, or even a person.
Now let's move on to some examples to help understand better.
Sure, Eric. Go ahead with the first example.
Here's the first one. The new phone has a lot of great features, like a high-quality camera and a long-lasting battery. It means that the phone has important parts that make it stand out, such as the camera and battery.
Great example, Eric. Here's another one. The park features a beautiful lake and many walking trails. It means that the park includes these things as important parts of what makes it special.
Now, let's talk about a quick grammar tip. Feature can be used as both a noun and a verb. When used as a noun, it talks about a characteristic, like the feature of a product. As a verb, it means to include something, like the show features famous actors. Another example could be, the app features an easy-to-use interface, meaning the app includes this important part to make it better.
Exactly. Now let's move on to a short dialogue to show how feature can be used naturally in conversation.
I heard the new car has some amazing features. Is that true?
Yes. It features an automatic parking system and a sunroof. I think those are really great additions.
Wow, that sounds impressive. I'd love to try the parking feature.
That was a good example of how feature can be used in a conversation. Eric, could you tell us about something that has cool features?
Sure, I recently bought a new coffee machine, and one of its best features is that it can make multiple types of coffee, like espresso and cappuccino. It makes mornings a lot easier.
That sounds really good. So, listeners, remember, feature is quite a common word that is used in both formal and informal contexts.
And it can be used to describe an important part of something, whether it's a product, a place, or even an experience.
Good point, Eric. I think now our followers understand what it means. Let's move on to our next word.
Okay, Lisa. The next word is consistent.
Consistent.
Consistent is an adjective. It means to be the same or similar over time, or to always continue in the same way.
That's right. When something is consistent, it means it doesn't change much, or it happens regularly.
Exactly. Let me give an example sentence. The restaurant has consistent quality. The food is always good. It means that the restaurant's food is good every time you go there, not just sometimes.
Good example. Let me give the next one. She has been consistent with her exercise routine, working out 3 times a week. This means that she exercises regularly without skipping or changing her routine.
Let me give a short note about how to use consistent. It's often followed by with when you're talking about an action or a habit. For example, she is consistent with her studies. Now, let's show how consistent can be used in a short dialogue.
Tom, your performance has been very consistent this season.
Thanks, Coach. I've been trying to be consistent in my training.
It shows. Your consistent effort is paying off in games.
I'm glad to hear that. I'll keep trying to be consistent.
It was a good example, Lisa. It shows how people use consistent in real-life situations.
Yes, and it also shows that being consistent is often seen as a positive quality.
Yes, that's right.
Eric, have you had any times when being consistent helped you?
Oh, definitely. When I started learning to play the guitar, I practiced every day, even if it was just for a few minutes. Being consistent really helped me get better.
That's a perfect example. Do you think consistent is a common word in English, Eric?
Yes, it's quite common. You'll hear it in many different situations like school, work, sports, or even in personal habits. People use it when they talk about doing something regularly or keeping a steady quality.
Well, it's more specific than just saying always or the same.
Exactly, Lisa. And consistent can be used in both formal and casual situations. It's a great word to describe steady effort or a regular habit.
Yes, good point, Eric. Well, I think we've explained consistent pretty well. Let's move on to our next word.
All right, Lisa. The next word we have is get along with.
Get along with.
Get along with is a phrasal verb, and it means to have a friendly relationship with someone. When you get along with someone, it means you like them and enjoy spending time with them. It's about being friendly and not having problems.
Exactly, Eric. If you get along with someone, it means you can easily talk to them, you don't fight, and you enjoy each other's company.
Now, let's move on to some examples to make this clearer.
Sure, Eric. Could you start first?
Okay, here's the first one. I get along with my co-workers really well, and we often have lunch together. It means that I have a good relationship with my co-workers, and we like spending time together.
Great example, Eric. Here's another one. My little brother and I didn't always get along, but now we're really close. It means that when we were younger, we might have fought or not gotten along well, but now we have a good relationship.
Now, let's talk about a quick grammar tip. Get along with is always followed by the person or people you are talking about. For example, get along with your classmates or get along with your neighbors. It shows who you have a good relationship with.
Exactly, Eric. It's important to remember to use with after get along so it's clear who you're talking about.
Good point, Lisa. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue to show how get along with can be used in conversation.
I heard you met your new neighbor. How did it go?
It went really well. We get along with each other. He's really friendly.
That's awesome. It's always nice when you get along with your neighbors.
I agree. It makes living next door so much better.
That was a good example of how get along with can be used naturally. Eric, do you have any experiences where getting along with someone made a big difference?
Oh yes. When I started my new job, I made an effort to get along with everyone on my team. It made work so much more enjoyable and less stressful. What about you?
For me, I also remember getting along with my classmates when I was in school. It made group projects a lot easier and more fun.
So, listeners, remember that getting along with means having a friendly relationship with someone. It's all about being kind and enjoying spending time with others.
Okay, let's move on to the last word of today.
All right. The last word today is down the drain.
Down the drain.
Down the drain is an idiom, and it means that something has been wasted or lost. It is often used to talk about money, time, or effort that is used but wasted.
If something goes down the drain, it means all the hard work or money was lost, and you can't get it back. It's a way to say that everything was wasted.
Now, let's talk about a quick grammar tip before moving on to the example sentences. Down the drain is usually used after the verb go, like all money we saved went down the drain. All the effort we put in went down the drain.
Now, let's give some examples.
Here's one. All the money I spent fixing my old car went down the drain when it broke again. It means that the money spent on repairs was wasted because the car broke again, so it didn't help in the end.
Good example, Eric. Here's another one. The project was canceled, so 18 months of work down the drain. This means that the effort put into the project for 18 months was wasted because the project was canceled and nothing came out.
Now, let's move on to a short dialogue to show how down the drain can be used in a conversation.
Did you hear that? The company canceled the new product line?
Yeah, I heard. All the money they spent on it just went down the drain.
I know it's such a waste. They put in a lot of effort, but all of it was down the drain.
That was a good example of how down the drain can be used to describe wasted time or effort. Eric, do you have any personal experiences where something went down the drain?
Oh yes, I remember spending hours working on a computer program and then my computer crashed and I lost everything. All that effort just went down the drain. What about you, Lisa?
That sounds frustrating, Eric. I also remember planning a big outdoor party and then it rained all day. All the plans were just down the drain.
So, listeners, remember, down the drain is a way to say that something was wasted or lost. It's often used when we feel disappointed that our time, money, or effort was for nothing.
And down the drain is mostly used in casual conversation, but you can hear it in more serious situations too. It's a great way to express when something doesn't work out as planned. So, Eric, what are the words today?
The first word today is doubtful. Then we will continue with be short of on something and to waste, then make up for. And the final one is cut the chase.
Let's start with the first word.
All right, Lisa. The first word we have is doubtful.
Doubtful. Doubtful is an adjective, and it means feeling uncertain or unsure about something. When you are doubtful, you are not sure if something will happen or if it's true.
Exactly. Here's an example sentence. I am doubtful that it will stop raining today. This means I'm not sure if the rain will stop. It might keep raining.
Good one, Eric. Here's another example. She was doubtful about passing the exam because she didn't study much. This means she wasn't sure if she would pass because she hadn't prepared enough.
Doubtful is often used with words like about or that. For example, I am doubtful about the results, or he was doubtful that he could finish on time.
Let's move on to a short dialogue to show how doubtful can be used.
Do you think we'll finish the project by Friday?
I'm doubtful. We still have a lot of work left to do.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be tough.
Maybe if we put in some extra hours, we could make it, but I'm still doubtful.
That was a good dialogue, showing how doubtful can be used in everyday situations. Now, Eric, let me ask you, have you ever felt doubtful about something?
Oh, definitely. I remember when I was learning to drive, I was really doubtful that I could pass the driving test. But I kept practicing, and in the end, I did it.
That's a great example, Eric. Feeling doubtful is normal, but sometimes we surprise ourselves. Even when we feel doubtful, we should still do our best because it might bring success sometimes.
So, listeners, remember, being doubtful just means you're unsure about something. It's okay to feel that way, but don't let it stop you from trying. Often, overcoming doubt leads to the best accomplishments.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about whether doubtful is formal or informal. Doubtful is generally neutral, meaning you can use it in both formal and informal contexts. For example, in a work setting, you could say, I am doubtful about the project timeline. In a casual conversation, you might say, I'm doubtful, we'll make it on time.
It's also a fairly common word that you'll hear often, Lisa.
That's right. Well, that's it for doubtful. Let's move on to our next word, Eric.
All right, Lisa. The next word is be short of or on something.
Be short of or on something.
To be short of something means not having enough of something. It's used when we lack something important, like money, time, or supplies.
Exactly, Eric. If you're short of something, it means you don't have enough of it. It could be something like food, time, or even patience. It's a common way to say that you need more of something.
Now, let's move on to some examples to make it clearer. Here's the first one. We are short of time, so we need to finish quickly. It means that we don't have enough time, so we have to hurry up and finish what we're doing.
Good example, Eric. Here's another one. They were short of money, so they couldn't buy new clothes. It means that they didn't have enough money, and that's why they couldn't buy the clothes.
It's important to remember that the phrase to be short of is generally used when referring to a tangible item or resource that is lacking, such as short of money or short of time. On the other hand, short on is often used when describing a quality or characteristic, like short on ideas or short on patience.
Now, let's move on to a short dialogue to show the word is used in a conversation.
Are you ready for the meeting tomorrow?
Not quite. I'm short on ideas for my presentation, and also I'm short of time to prepare everything.
Oh, no. Maybe I can help you find some ideas. I have a little time free now.
That was a good example of how be short can be used to describe not having enough of something. Eric, do you have any experiences where you were short of something?
Oh, yes. I remember planning a picnic, and we were short of sandwiches. We didn't realize how much food we needed, and we ended up having just enough to share.
That's a perfect example, Eric. I also remember being short on patience when waiting in a long line. It's never fun to feel like you don't have enough of something, especially time or patience.
Absolutely. So, listeners, remember, be short of or be short on is a way to say that you don't have enough of something. It's useful for talking about things you need more of.
And be short of or be short on is used in both casual and serious situations. It's a helpful way to express when you're running low on something important. Well, we've explained be short pretty enough. Let's move on to our next word. What's the next word, Eric?
The next word is to waste.
To waste.
To waste means to use something in a careless way or to use more than necessary, especially time, money, or resources.
Exactly, Eric. If you waste something, it means you're not using it in the best way possible. For example, if you waste time, you're spending it on things unnecessarily.
Now, let's give some examples to help our followers understand it better. Here's the first one. Don't waste your time arguing with them. It won't change anything. It means that spending time arguing is not a good use of time, and it won't work. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example?
Sure. Here's another example. Tom wasted 2 hours playing video games instead of studying. It means Tom used his time badly by playing games when he should have been studying.
It's also useful to remember that to waste can be used as a noun too. For example, it was a waste of time, which means something was not worth the time spent on it.
Good point. Now, let's hear a short dialogue using the word waste.
Jack, you're wasting electricity by leaving all the lights on. It is totally a waste of money.
Sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to waste energy.
I know, but we shouldn't waste resources. Think about the bills.
You're right, I'll try not to waste electricity anymore.
Good. And also, please don't waste time watching TV before doing your homework.
Okay, Mom, I understand.
That was a good example, Lisa. It shows how people use waste in everyday situations.
Yes, and it also shows that wasting things is usually seen as negative.
Absolutely. Additionally, it's very common. People use it almost every day when talking about using time, money, or resources.
And it's neutral. We can use it in both casual and formal situations.
That's right. It's a practical word that we use in many different situations.
Exactly. Well, I think we've covered waste pretty well. Shall we move on to our next word?
Yes, let's do that. The next word is make up for.
Make up for.
Make up for is a phrasal verb, and it means to do something good to balance something bad. When you make up for something, you're trying to correct a problem or make someone feel better after something has gone wrong.
Exactly. It's like saying, I'm sorry for what happened, and now I want to do something good to fix it.
Let's look at the first example sentence. I was late to the meeting, so I worked extra hours to make up for it. It means that the person was late, which was a mistake, but they worked longer hours to fix the problem.
Here's another example. She forgot my birthday, but she made up for it by taking me out to dinner. This means that she forgot the birthday, which was bad, but she did something nice, like taking her friend to dinner, to correct or balance the mistake.
Now, let's talk about a quick grammar tip. Make up for is always followed by the thing you're trying to fix or balance out. For example, make up for a mistake or make up for lost time. It helps show what you're trying to make better.
Now, let's move on to a short dialogue to see how make up for can be used in a conversation.
I'm really sorry I couldn't come to your party last night.
It's okay. How about we have lunch together next week? That can make up for it.
That sounds great. I'll definitely make up for missing your birthday party.
So, Eric, do you think make up for is a common phrase in English?
Yes, it's quite common. You'll hear it a lot when people talk about fixing mistakes or doing something good to balance something bad. It's used in both casual and more formal situations.
I agree. It's a really useful phrase because we often need to fix small mistakes or do something nice when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. So, remember, when you want to fix a mistake or do something nice to balance out something bad, you can say you'll make up for it.
It's a polite way to show that you care about what happened and want to make it right. Remember, make up for it if you make a mistake.
Well said, Lisa.
Okay, Eric. Well, that's it for make up for. Let's move on to the last word today.
All right, Lisa. The last word today is cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase is an idiom, and it means to get to the point quickly without wasting time. It's used when someone wants to skip all the unnecessary details and focus on what's really important.
Exactly, Eric. When you say cut to the chase, it means you want to avoid all the extra talk and just talk about the main point.
Now, let's give some examples.
Sure, Eric. Go ahead with the first example.
Here's one. We don't have much time, so let's cut to the chase and decide what we need to do. It means that we should skip all the small talk and quickly decide on the important action we need to take.
Here's another one. The boss cut to the chase and told everyone that the project was canceled. It means that the boss didn't spend time on extra explanations and directly said that the project was canceled.
Now, let's move on to a short dialogue to show how cut to the chase can be used in conversation.
Hey, David, I know you're busy, so I'll cut to the chase. Can you help me with this project?
Sure, Emma. Thanks for getting straight to the point. I'd be happy to help.
That was a good example of how cut to the chase can be used to keep things simple and direct. Eric, do you have any experiences where you had to cut to the chase?
Well, I remember once in a meeting, we were running out of time, so I had to cut to the chase and tell everyone what needed to be done right away.
So, listeners, remember, cut to the chase is a phrase you use when you want to get straight to the important point without wasting time.
And cut to the chase is great for casual conversations when you want to keep things focused and efficient.
Well, we hope you found the words helpful and the explanations easy to understand.
Thanks for listening. Keep studying your English.
And stay tuned. Bye for now.